to make noise of this.
Right, hello. So I am recording this and we're live in Facebook. Yay! So I am Marie-Louise from Happy Shiny People and Lovely Evolution. I'm here with Marvin, and I can't even pronounce your surname, I'm sorry, not even going to try, from Lemonpop Workshops. And we're going to talk about creativity and why it's really important to for your soul, you know, to get really deep. I really wanted to sort of dig into, a lot of people think, you know, that as a creative myself, I have so many people going, oh, I can't do what you do, I'm not creative. And they label themselves I'm not creative.
Yeah.
But I'm a great believer, and I hope you'll back me up with this, that everyone can be creative, obviously to different degrees and different, you know, like skills, you know, but everyone can enjoy and benefit from it. So let's start with just tell us a little bit about yourself and your background, just share away.
Right. Thank you for having me. It's fantastic to be here and to be able to share some thoughts or discoveries, or, you know, I just love to share. As you're saying, Marvin, I'm from Zimbabwe. I was born there and moved here in my teens, very early teens. So it was that in itself was quite dramatic, because that's a culture change and it's a quite huge shock, and all your perspectives of where
the
you're
weather,
going
if nothing else.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I was lucky enough to travel with my family. We traveled into Germany and all that stuff before I came here. So the weather wasn't that much of a shock. I think it was more the expectations.
Okay.
Yeah. You dream of, or you hear of like Princess Diana. When I was growing up, of course, at the time, you know, you had the Princess Diana and you had the whole royal family. So you picture this place as made of gold.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So
a bit like, is it the Charles Dickens sort of, the, you know, London streets?
Oh yeah, Cobble Street with all these. Oh, I love it, you know.
Yeah.
And then
the reality.
You go to school.
Yeah.
You know, teachers ducking chairs, being thrown by students.
And you were saying earlier you sort of lived in London, so you were having the kind of, not just like British experience, it was like, what's it, like in a London kind of thing.
Raw experiences. I mean, getting it from how people feel, that's how you got it, you know. And where I was coming from, you know, a bit more, I wouldn't say reserved, but people are a bit, there's a lot of respect. You know, people talk of culture, but culture is a lot more respecting each other and recognizing the differences and that. Whereas here it was like, whoa, total contrast. So that was, you know, so coming to this country was quite a total shock.
Like Zimbabwe, it's very much respect your elders, you know, the kind of hierarchy of like your experience, respect,
honor, and recognizing roles within communities, within families. That obviously leads to the respect and all of that, which I think is a great foundation, and you find that all over. And even here, it's there, it's everywhere. It's just when you go mainstream, you know, it's hard to pinpoint those little structures or things that seem to help and develop ourselves. So basically, talking of that, that's what leads me, and being who I am, I'm very much about expression. So growing up, I discovered I had the skill, and that helped me to find it. Like you know, you realize I'm good at something, and then that leads.
It's having that fun, isn't it? And when you're a kid, you're not doing something because you're trying to make money out of it, or, you know, it's not cluttered with other pressures of life. You're making that painting because you want to have fun, and it's not about trying to sell it, or is it the best of the world. You're doing it because you want to use green, even though you're doing a pig or something. You know,
tell these kids,
it's completely abstract.
Use it on contrast and color it in. Don't even use black. I try to discourage young children, or anyone in the workshops, not to use black outline. Maybe you might get a different effect. You might get a different reading, or you look at that picture once again in a different color. So it's just that change of perspective, which I've had in my own personality, where moving here and realizing so many differences, and that urged me to express myself more. I think that kind of shaped me. But I was always this person who used expression, but I think that called me out more. Okay, I'm in a different place. I'm in a foreign place. I have to find myself. I have to be able to enjoy my experiences. So for me, I had to express myself.
And is any of your other family members quite creative as well? Was that kind of encouraged?
Yes.
Because I've got quite a creative, generally, family.
I can feel that. And
and my son is getting really, like, when he was like a toddler, he wasn't so interested. But last couple of years, he's definitely really into it. And I went on a painting holiday with my mum back in September. It was oil painting done by, it was run by Sarah Penrose, a local artist. Shout out to Sarah. And it was, I'd never painted with oils, and it was just a really new process. I hadn't painted since I was at A-levels, and that's quite a long time ago now.
Wow.
And it was just really fun just to start from scratch, keep an open mind. But what it did was I showed my son sort of pictures of the progress, and when I came back, he was like, "Mummy, I want to do some painting with you." Yeah. So we're now sort of doing that. We did some last weekend. We went on an adventure and took pictures, and we're doing painting together. So it's interesting how just even at any stage you can go on sort of one of your workshops, which we'll talk more about in a minute, or like one of Sarah's painting, and there's loads of different things like Sophia, I can't say her surname.
Yeah, Sophia's fantastic.
She does like afternoons, and she does all sorts of stuff.
She's wicked.
And so there's so many different ways of being expressive. It doesn't necessarily have to be with a pen or a pencil or paintbrush. Yeah. Knitting can be a form of like creativity. Like my mum, who's sort of lurking in the background here, she did cross stitch for many years, and even if you're like following a pattern, you're still getting involved. You're still picking what picture you want to paint, and you're still, there's still some involvement there. You're putting your heart and soul into it. And so there's loads of ways to do that.
I think what you just touched on is a lot of people think that they're not creative. I'm not creative, but I find mathematicians creative.
Yeah.
I can't do what they do. They tell me I can't draw how you draw. I say, yeah, well, of course. It's taken me a long time. Young people go to me, Marvin, how come you're so good? Why are you so good? And I say, well, your perception is that I'm good, but my perception is I'm still trying to improve. So every day I'm still learning. So that shows you that maybe in something that you're doing, you're still young, you can still develop, and you can be better than me by the time you get to my age, if you put in the practice, if it's a desire that you have, and if it's something that you enjoy.
Exactly.
I think that's key.
I heard something, I think it was on the radio, probably Radio 2. I'm getting to the age where I do actually listen to Radio 2 occasionally now.
I really listen to, I mess with them too.
I'm presuming it was on there, and it was talking about how Vincent van Gogh didn't really sell any of his paintings. I think he sold maybe one painting for like pittance. Yeah. And actually the people who were trying to sell his work were trying to sell it just so that people could use the raw materials, like the wood in the canvas as kindling. Like they valued it so little. But then, now how we view him. So it's so, subjective of like what you, how you see your own talent or lack of, depending where you are, versus, how other people see you.
See, I like how you touched on Van Gogh, because he's a great example. Not just in the pictures, the messages and all the things that he has got in there is very deep. I don't want to go there, but I was just saying his path, for example, I can put myself in his shoes, so can anyone. And if you're creative at what you do, you don't need validation from anybody. So you're going to express yourself. So that is key.
I think there's a song there, isn't there?
Oh, don't get me started. And,
I might break into song in a minute.
Don't get me started, So he found peace. He was judged.
Yeah.
You know, he was classified as something else, but he expressed himself regardless of how people saw him. Yeah.
Yeah.
And now he's considered a great. So it shows you if when you start to express yourself, you know, a lot of this world is full of validation. How many likes do you need?
Yeah.
So it's full of validation.
It's easy to chase that as well. Like even I do it where I'm like, oh, I put a post out. Who's commented and liked it?
I had this written. Check this for you. I was going to say, you know, it's about, for me, everything is about imagination. You imagined this conversation happening. In fact, I'm a rapper, I'm a poet. And for me to do that, I imagine my listener when I'm performing. Now, that's the same here as you. You're imagining the person who's viewing this, what's going through their mind? What are they thinking? What are they watching? What do they expect to hear from this? What do they expect to get from this? And you sat and you thought about that. So that's imagination. You imagine how you would feel when you were watching this. What do you want to get out of this? What are you going to get out of that? So that's inspired the whole process of what you do. So now that's imagination. A lot of people don't look at it like that. Don't think imagination is like that. But if you're anything that you're planning, if you're planning to drive to somewhere, you've envisioned yourself getting in the car, getting to the second corner, after the traffic lights, it's the third left, and then you get to the third left, it's the fifth house. You've imagined it. You see the door, number 5.
But you've also broken it down into steps as well.
Yeah, that process.
But also, I think another aspect of it, you know, creativity and using that analogy is also going with the flow. You know, that things can come up, you know, like, you know, if you're doing a painting, you can make a mistake, but actually what you perceive as a mistake could be the best thing ever, because it could like shape your work in a way that would never be otherwise.
It's like you read my mind. I was coming from a workshop today with these young people, and they're all quick to get a rubber, you know. I said, wait a minute. Yeah. I don't use a rubber. You all asking me, oh, Marvin, how do you do this work? It's amazing. And I go, I don't use a rubber. Confused face, you know. I say to them, well, if you walk out the door and you trip on the first ledge that you walk upon, then you can't rewind time and undo that. So it's the same way as drawing. So if you're going to draw, the only way you're going to learn from that mistake is to know when you do that again, you're going to remember there is a streak there and I'm going to have to raise my leg and make a step over it. It's the same way as drawing. So you're going to draw a circle. That circle you're making, you know, oh, I made a mistake. If you raise that, you don't know where the mistakes are. Yeah. So if you leave it, you're going to go over that circle and you know exactly what. So it's about remembering, knowing your steps.
But also, if you look carefully, you can still see the mistake anyway. So why not embrace it?
Embrace the mistake. That's the learning, you know. And imagination helps you to go, all right, I really wanted to go over there. So you can see it even if you raise it. If I told you, my son's 6 years old, draw a car, you can imagine it. You can, if I say draw a square and a rectangle underneath it, a circle and a circle, and maybe a triangle on each side, then you've got a car. Yeah. And you can see it right now as you say it, you know, you envision that. Yeah. You know? So I think it's all about imagination. Yeah. I think when people say I'm not creative, I think they're not being imaginative enough. Yeah.
I think also it's about permission to themselves.
Yes.
That I think, particularly as we get older and set into what our life path has gone, whether you've chosen that with decision and purpose, you know, if you're in a kind of maybe say a more corporate environment, or you've taken this job and that's led to that job and that path, and you know, when you were a kid, you didn't say, oh, I really want to be this, but you've ended up there. And so, but you can still have that fun, you can still have that expression through doing some form of creative projects or getting involved, you know, but people almost forget and give up that part of themselves, and it's about reconnecting with that.
Yeah.
So I think that quite nicely leads on to, let's talk about your workshops. So I know you do workshops for kids, and that's how I originally met you. Was I came along to one of your kids' workshops, and we were making little monsters out of empty sort of like almond milk bottles and that kind of thing, those cartons. And I was in there, I was getting stuck in. Like, I still have mine. I still have mine's a pen holder, and it's in my office.
Yeah,
it's
I
there.
love that.
He's called Merv.
Yeah, you had a name.
Monster.
You had a name as well.
Him.
Oh,
yeah,
awesome.
I'm so proud of him. And like, my son was getting involved. He loved his. I don't think we still have his. Actually, no, he does still have his. I think did you get this? No, my mum was there, but she was just sort of around. She was just assisting.
She wanted to do it really secretly.
Yeah. But yeah, I just was really blown away with your like passion. I could really sense that, you know, that what you're bringing to the community with these sorts of workshops, and then sort of seeing sort of some of the things. And also, sort of digressing slightly, you get sort of nominated for some sort of award. So tell us quickly about that, and then tell us all about your workshops.
Wow. The nomination, I'll start with that. That was quite great. I mean, it's quite good to be recognized for what you do. I mean, what we do, we don't really do it for recognition, but to be recognized amongst the community by University of Northampton, their Changemaker hub. I've done bits of work with them, and their work is about community, and which mirrors, in a funny way, which mirrors the work that I do. So they've recognized that I really understand that notion, and at the same time, I understand what they're trying to do with that, not trying what they're doing with it. And at the same time, I went through a course at the university with them, which kind of helped me to put myself together. But at the same time,
what course was that?
I was a bit of a guinea pig for their social innovation course.
Oh,
and
nice. Yeah, because they got the innovation portion of that. Yeah.
Before they launched it, I think they needed a few students who had some ventures working, and at the same time, some of these ventures are already very successful out there. Excellent. And I was lucky enough to be one of the participants within that. And to be fair, they don't really introduce new things to you, but they actually help you to bring your aspects together and map it out and understand how you are relative within the community. So that's how the Changemaker is helping students who are studying, because a lot of them out there, I don't think they really understand what role, what value they are providing for themselves, for their employer, for their community. So it's all round. And it's all about enrichment of self first of all, before we can actually start saying, you're going out and you recognize this community or that community. So
I think it's good also from the sense of encouraging people, whether it's from a younger age, sort of within having it in that university setting, but also just as the wider thing of that, you know, you're not just this little island. It's not just that me. It's about how we can help each other. And I've had a sense of that through networking, because I've been networking for sort of 3-4 years now. And the people that you meet, you know, some in passing, some people that become your friends, some people become your clients, sometimes you're their clients, but you build up this community. You know, when networking works right, it can be really supportive, you know, like
but you said community.
Yes.
What these students, or anyone, most of us, when we suffer anxiety, all these stresses and all these things, and we're displaced from where we're supposed to be, so we suffer dis-ease and discomfort from that. This word is exactly how we describe that. You know, you're not expressing ourselves within where we should be, and it's recognition of who you are. Who are you? That's the question I seem to ask a lot of people, and it helps to pinpoint, to show where that value is. Once you recognize what value you're providing within a community, first of all to yourself, then you can provide value to a company, to a business, to anyone else. Because I ask these students, I'll go back to the students because that's a great place I can always go flip it from that way. But if you look at this, I say to these students, why are you here? Why are you here?
Mm.
So that question, they might, first of all, it sounds funny and ridiculous. Why are you where you are? Why are you there? First question, you've got to think, why am I here? So that makes you think, what value am I getting here?
I think also to tie in with that as well is that when you, like, if you go to a party or dinner party or networking, you say, you know, what's your name? What do you do? So that's the key thing. And I think we as a society, we are so conditioned to sort of associate our identity with what we do, like what is our job, and that is not who we are.
That is not
And again, that's where sort of having that self-expression, having that self-awareness, whether it's through, again, being creative or whatever, but it's finding that part of yourself and realizing that you're not your job.
You are not your job. You're not your family's name. You're not your job. Your car doesn't define you. The clothes you wear, they don't define you too. But these are the things that this world we live in seems to want to promote people to define and who they are. So when I say define, now we're touching the words that I really use when I use my work. It's all about discovering, defining, developing, and delivering. So discovering.
And isn't that in one of your workshops? Because I remember seeing one of your workshops, you had a group of adults, and it was very much that there was the creative element, but it was it from the sense I got from the description, it was very much about really going in on yourself and going, you know, like that thing of who
very
are
much
you?
Introspective path that I use my creative workshop. So basically how the workshops work is I take people on an introspective journey of self.
It's not just about making a pretty picture.
Oh no.
But excuse me, but isn't it also that people are refined by male and female? I mean, as female, I am a mother.
Yes.
I'm a wife.
Yes.
I am a sister.
Yes.
I'm a sister-in-law.
Yes.
So there's all these labels, isn't there?
A grandmother.
Yeah.
And the same as with the man.
Yeah.
And
most of us now are suffering from these identities. We choose to attach to these identities and go with that, and that's what we suffer. So if you're suffering anxiety or no, most of them, not all of them, most of them are coming from these labels we attach to. Because now that I like how you said the woman, because when I talk to women, when I'm doing talk with women, I say, you're not just a mother. Before you were a mother.
That word just.
Yeah, I have to add just. I don't really mean that.
Just, but society
addition.
See, like Marie Louise is my daughter, I'm her mum, always will be, and I'm her grandmother to her son. But the same part is, you know, I got a husband, and I mean, we all have a sort of a name attached to ourselves.
But then equally, yes, we have all these roles and labels, but you also at the core know who you are as a person, you know, as a friend, that we have these different faces.
Yeah.
But if you're in touch with who you are from the inside, you're not just thinking that you're just or only or this or that. It doesn't become a cage for you. It's just one facet of the diamond that you are.
I tried to express one time in a post about the difference and the value of recognizing your gender, for example. I'm not trying to get into this gender stuff. Fine, it's there. I accept what anyone wants to place themselves. But when it comes down to male or female, we've got recognition of actually very great recognition of part and part, because that triad of mother, father, son is very important to understand our upbringing and to recognize why who put us here in the first place. So I think that's always, for me, is a basis of identity, because then I can
your
respect
culture, your race, like.
So it helps me to respect
you know, like, and it was really interesting, you know, chatting about your background, because that shaped who you are. Like for me, like my mum's Norwegian, I'm half Norwegian. That is a big part of who I am.
Identity.
But it's not necessarily something that I would get in there when I first meet someone, but it has shaped who I am.
But I also went to Africa, East Africa.
Yeah.
And I met my husband in Kenya.
I love that. You see, when
we all have the history, don't we?
That hits me straight back to when we talked about discover, define, develop, deliver. So I created this phrase called write, draw, create, and make, which mirrors the discover, define, develop, deliver, because I found a way of just helping someone to actually pinpoint, for example, how you explained that. So my process is we'd write about you. So I'd say, write down a list. Let's write down something. When you start writing that list, within that list, which is the discovery process, which is the thought process. Now I'm going back to, I can talk of ancient practices when we start talking about what's air, water, and the essence of the planet and stuff like that, and of the universe. Then you're going to start understanding that those are the things. So thought is the first thing that we have before you get to water. When thought hits water, it's vibration, which creates what we have, sound, and everything that we're living. So without going that far, we're just going to limit and go back to you and say, okay, you as an individual, when you think, when you start to recognize what you have discovered. So the first stage is write or discovery. Man discovers fire. Okay, fire is over there. Okay, what does man needs to, so what is this thing, right? So man goes, okay, this is hot. That's a description. You're defining it. Yeah. That is hot. Okay, it's orange. It's flickering. Describing it, we're defining it. Okay, so after you've defined it, now you're going to develop a use of it. Oh, those leaves smell really nice when I put them on that fire. Okay, so I accidentally dropped that vegetable that I was going to eat on there, and I'm just going to eat it because, oh wow, it tastes amazing. Okay, so now we're developing a use for that thing that was described as fire. So we've discovered something, we're defining it, now we're developing a use for it. Tomorrow, I might want to do the same thing. So, so you see, if I take it to my humble abode, it lights up the place. So I'm going to do it again. So I take that and I'll deliver it tomorrow. So now I can reuse it. I can do the process again. So it's the same thing as in our lives, where every day we discover. So I discovered that I was good at art. Through the years of my teenage years, I was defining that skill. Even though as a teenager, it's the hardest. That's why all these young people are going through all these problems and issues, because defining yourself within this world that we live in is, we've taken away yourself, and now we're reliant on other mediums to define yourself. So no wonder why we're living, anyway. But so when you're defining yourself, so as a teenager, I started to define myself and realize I can talk, I can rap, I'm good with words, I'm good with art, I'm good with my hands, I'm good with, so okay, all right. So I started to define myself. I was always different. So I think in my teenage years, I started to try and fit in. And that's when I realized you start to develop problems. You're not being yourself. We're getting problems with all these young people. You're not being the true self.
It's true.
You're not taking care of, focusing on what you've discovered about yourself. She's talking about, I'm a wife, I'm this. Those are all different discoveries of who you are. If we wrote them down right now, you can go out there and have a list of things to do in each of those categories and never say, I'm bored again. Believe that. And a lot of people don't recognize that. And I say, look on your list. Now, for kids, I say, you've got a whole list to do on your holidays. And to the parents, I say, now you can know what to do when they're busy. Now you can go back to being you. You're relying on being a mother. That's not who you are. You need to show your children who you really are, because that's what's going to really inspire them. You said about your son, as soon as you start seeing you lit, that's inspiration. He's going to want to jump in. And that's what young people learn from. That's how they read. That's how they really learn. They don't learn from you telling them. They learn and see how you're inspired. So if you're not inspired in being yourself, they're taking that.
Exactly.
They're feeding off of that energy. So let's understand about who we are, because that's when we start to realize how we're going to enrich our lives. So
with the workshops, and sort of obviously that's sort of a really great the discover, define, develop, deliver as part of your workshop. Do you use that same or a version of that system for the different age groups? Because we've got your very, very nice flyer here. We'll share some screenshots of that later. So you've got your early learners workshops, which is aged at 3 to 6. You've got 7 to 12, so write, draw, create and make. 13 to 18 years, so that's obviously a really great, you obviously identify with that with your own
my own journey, the J word.
Journey.
Oh wow.
And then you've got the 21 years plus, so the sort of the adult-led ones. So are you using that same sort of system of the, you're obviously wording it and framing it a bit differently, but for like, an adult workshop versus sort of the early learners that are 3 to 6. Are you doing the same thing in a way, or are you doing, or are they very different workshops?
I love that question, and I don't change anything. I actually speak the same.
Yeah, that's
I
good.
could be.
I've never baby talked to my son.
Never.
Yeah.
I talk to them as if I'm talking to adults. I say, no way, you can't. You tell me why you're doing this. Obviously, I've got ways of doing it, but at the same time, this might sound controversial to some, but if I meet a disabled person, should I treat them differently?
No.
Thank you. So, because they don't want that. They don't want that. So why should I do that? Because
not when you're connecting to them as a human being.
So that whole human level of, funny word, but that level of understanding us, we're beings, we suffer, we go through the same emotional processes, we eat, we nourish, we need to nourish and all of that. So if we recognize that about each other, then I think that's when you realize that, we go through the same processes. And if someone is going through another process, you can recognize what process or what stage they are. I've got a question, and I always ask people in my workshops, and I say to them, what level do you think you are at in your life? You could be a graphic designer. You've studied and harnessed, you've honed in on your craft. Now you know the skills, you know the ins and outs, you know all about layouts, colors, palettes. Right? So what level do you think you would be at your at? Or you think you're learning to bake? Do you think you're in a discovery stage? Or do you think you've discovered it? Or do you think you're defining it? I'm just trying to figure out which one is which. Or do you think you're developing it now? You started off, now you're getting to a place where you can start doing more. Or are you ready to deliver it? You want customers, you want clients. Do you see each level? These are stages. You could be, are you ready to deliver it to your clients and start opening that business and go open that shop, send them flyers out? So where do you think you are? That's a question I ask everyone. Are you discovery stage, defining stage, developing stage, or delivery stage? I could ask you guys and ask you quickly, just if you think of anything that you're working on, you're trying to do, that I want to try this, even on your business, for example.
I think I'm at all those different aspects at different stages because, my design business is called Lovely Evolution, and the whole reason why I rebranded to that about just over a year ago is because I believe that we're all changing and growing and discovering and learning, and that things don't stand still. So I'm open to discover and do all that process again and again with different aspects.
What do you think? Where do you think you might be? Do you think you're discovering, defining, developing, delivering? What did you say she was do? Baking, sewing, knitting? What did you say she was good at?
Well, she's very competent at a lot of things. Yeah, very, very crafty. Good cook. You like doing your dinner party food, don't you?
Yeah.
So when's the book coming out?
Yeah. See, my mum, she loves cooking to entertain.
Yes.
Everyday cooking, not so much. But she loves to have people around and feed people, and she has a lot of cookbooks. I don't even know how many she's got, but I don't think she has ever followed a recipe exactly 100%. And you always sort of you know, you have a touch of Ellen in it. You always put a
So where
her
would
own
you put
signature
yourself
in it.
within that, those four?
It's a bit difficult because at the moment
It could be health. It could be a few things. It could be a whole lot of range. If you put that question to a lot of things about yourself internally, really be true and honest, then you really get the answers coming out.
I guess for you, you don't really have any sort of new projects, as it were. You've done various things.
I think actually, in a way, I think I feel a bit frustrated because we moved up here and we had a lot of stuff which has not gone into places where it should have been. And I don't at the moment feel very motivated to attack the garage and other bits because there's certain things that needs to be changed.
So there's a sort of environmental factor as well.
Yeah.
I think because you're back to the whole concept of creativity, I was finding that I couldn't be creative at home because there's various reasons, but I found that that it was blocked up. However, we chose to do some move some rooms around and get rid of stuff, and suddenly the energy is back, and I feel like I've got a space to be creative. And it's
Feng shui.
Yeah. So it has. So like I can understand that with you, Mo, with there's still stuff that you need to sort out, and you know, when you've got that space to create, and it doesn't have to be you have your own dedicated like art room, but it's being able to feel that you can have that space on the kitchen table, whatever, and or you know.
I think a creative space is anywhere that you can find. I can find creative space in a room full of thousands of people.
Some people like coffee shops. And
I find creative space in masses
in a
of
park.
people. With people there. I think I've learned myself. Once again, it's about learning who you are. And who you are is not the same things that we've just said. You're not the wife, you're not the husband, you're not this, you're not just a sister, you're not just a brother, you're not just a cook, you're not just you are. And you said, I asked, where are you as well? That was key, because then you actually said it, that you are everywhere. That is yin and the yang and all those spiritual practices that we're talking about. You know, if you go and find out, that is all infinity symbol. That is all the same thing. That is all of those. That's encapsulating. That's a soul. That's recognizing you are whole. You're living a full experience. So when you stop taking if I take something that's important away from you, that keeps you happy, what are you going to do?
I'd be a bit sad or angry.
You get frustrated, first of all. You get frustrated. And then you got the ladder, the 7 ladder. You can go up through all the stages of it until you get to a point where, boom. So I start to recognize that something has been taken out. So when I list, write, draw, create, and make. So I get anyone who's participating to write and focus and recognize you. What have you discovered about you? So when you start to draw it, drawing is defining, expanding. Just because someone's drawing a football, I say, you're lying. You're not lying to me, you're lying to yourself. If you know what football is, you know, you're gonna write football boots, you're gonna write football flag, referee, you're gonna write a football chant. Do you know what I mean? And you know what I mean? You're gonna show, but if you go football, then you're probably suffering these anxieties because you're suffering the masses thing. You're following the masses. We are human. No matter what we're going to be, you're always going to be from where where did you say you're from again, sorry? Norway. I'm always going to be the black guy no matter where I go. So I don't try not to be, or I try to show more of it. I am. So I don't focus on it. I carry on. I do notice it. Sometimes you notice the differences when you get to certain places, but that's fine, because if you know who you are, then the experience, you can make that experience more richer. Yeah.
Well, it's that self-acceptance as well as that that knowing, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think that's what drives the creativity, and in fact, that's what helps the imagination. Once you, if I was to ask you to talk anyone, if you ask, when people say I'm not creative, I think they're not looking at what inspires them. So if I was to say, ask anyone about a topic that they really know about, I ask Marvin, how did you get that shy young person to talk? And look at him. I didn't do anything. I just asked him what they like. And then guess what?
Yeah.
I couldn't get them to shut up, right? So
yeah.
I think it's about recognizing what makes you tick, what makes you, that's where your imagination is. That's where your creativity lies. It could be taking a walk. I express myself by taking a walk. I express myself by going in. Some of my key things as well, which maybe makes me a bit strange, is you recognize that in this society we live in, there's so much noise, there's so many notifications and things hollering at you to get your attention. So to find peace sometimes is when you do those things that you really enjoy. And guess what? As soon as you start doing it, the world disappears. Time doesn't exist.
You're in flow.
You're in something. And if you can make that work, like most people who are successful out in this world have found that thing, followed it through their experiences in life, followed their experiences, followed their interests. This is why I get young people to try and to recognize their interests. Even some of us, we've seemed to have forgotten those.
Exactly.
My mum came to one of my workshops and she said to Marvin, I didn't expect to go through this experience. I just thought, oh, Marvin talks about this. But as soon as I started
Good
doing
old
it,
mum.
yeah, she said, it changed me. I recognized myself again. I recognized I wasn't being myself. I wasn't doing the things. Yeah, I wasn't doing the things that I love anymore, and I'd forgotten who I was.
So I'm in coaching, like a group coaching thing. We meet at the beginning of the month. It's a women-only group, that one, and it's about business and support and stuff. And we were talking about sort of discovering ourselves and losing ourselves, and the words, I was once lost and then I was found. And I was like, I could hear it in my head and I didn't know where it was from. And then someone was like, no, it's from Amazing Grace. And it was just so apt. And it's true that, you know, you can so easily lose who you are, lose sight of who you are from the inside because you have the labels, because you have the job title. But you can reclaim that, and I guess sort of coming on one of your workshops or, you know, meditating, and there's so many different avenues, or like even just, as you said, switch off the notifications, or leave your phone at home, go for a walk and just be. Silence
the noise. However you can find a way. There's a phrase, all these are out there, but if you can find a way to silence the noise, then you're starting to understand it. I use nature to silence the noise. I've got a bill, I've got invoices to send out, I haven't been paid by this client, I've got to chase this, I need to make a phone call, I've got a meeting to go to. All right, how am I going to silence that noise so I can be creative, so I can actually turn up to that meeting, so I can have value in that meeting, so I can recognize how I'm going to actually be valuable in that meeting, or I can get value back.
Yeah.
Also, when it comes to value, it's about, I give this example of 20 years. It could be a teacher. 20 years in a job, hates Mondays, can't wait for Fridays. That person's not getting value and probably not giving value. So can you imagine how many people they're failing? 20 years. And they keep going. So I say, who asked, why are you doing this job? Maybe you did it for the money, but now you're in this place and you've got this stresses, all these things, bad health, all these things that people are going through. And you go, who asked you to do that job? Go back 20 years and say, why did you choose that profession? Did your mum choose it for you? Not to say anything, but did your mum choose it for you? Because maybe you didn't know yourself. So someone else could see, they don't know themselves. Tell them to go do that. And then you ended up doing that thing because you didn't recognize yourself. So now you're living someone else's version of you. world, that version that you expected of you, but not what you expect of you.
But I think once you discover who you are, if you don't know who you are, you know, you can be empowered to change that, because I know so many people who have retrained, and you know, they're on their second or third like career path, as it were.
I went to university, so the students, for example, university, they look at me, what are you talking about? At that point I go, well, I went to university and I was doing IT. Now, do you picture me coming to your house and going, well, did you try control? Did you check the back and did you check the cable?
Switch it off and on.
No, that's not me. So I had to.
Fancy trainers.
Yeah. Well. You know, I'm coming with my fancy train, like my Jordans. I'm like, okay. So
they're very,
you know, so
they're very neutral.
Yeah, I like my I like to be different.
But you created trainers.
Yeah. For that purpose,
but that's what I'm saying. These are very.
No, for my own, I find it's very hard to do my own work. I'd rather get someone else to customize something for me.
Oh, okay. But you can do the customized trainers.
Oh yeah, if someone comes to me, I can customize however you want it, you know, portraits and all that type of stuff onto trainers' names.
So yeah, so Marvin doesn't just do these amazing workshops. You also are very very creative, doing your own sort of because you were saying, you showed me some examples of these trainers that you painted and customized. So you do those for commission, I guess, and do you customize and t-shirts and other things?
Now I've got a little company where I customize t-shirts for people, organize people, customize, but it's all come from expressing. It's all about expression. So I've actually got an exhibition at the moment in Northampton.
Oh, where's that?
At the Umbrella Fair.
Ah, okay.
My first sort of solo exhibition showcasing a bit of work. It's on until the 7th of March.
Okay, I have to come along.
It's right in the Umbrella Fair. The kind of gallery.
Well, because James Manners is not going to be here.
It's going to be here this weekend. It's on until
7th
of March.
It's on until the 7th. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's open. It's open from like 10 o'clock to like 6 o'clock. So
even on Sundays. So.
Yes. Yeah. Even on Sundays. So
are you going to be there this Sunday?
I can today. I've decided to have some viewings, and I can always be there to kind of give you a personal tour.
Please, because I think my brother's coming up for the weekend, and I think you two would really connect well. He does light painting photography. And he's done collaborations with his friend Stan, who's Belgium, doing he's does graffiti artist, and then he's been doing a documentary for another friend, Ara, in Norway, who is a mural artist.
That up, yes.
So
I
think you'd really connect.
Definitely.
Yeah. So it'd be great. So come to the Umbrella Fair on Sunday. I'll be there.
It's on the umbrella.
Yeah, he said it's at the Umbrella Fair.
It's not everything. It's from about 10 o'clock till about 6 in the evening. Every day is open.
Well, I'll message you. We'll arrange something so that we can meet.
Go and check it out. It's just a piece of me. I just thought a lot of people have questions. What
things are being exhibited?
This one's a simple one. It's my first exhibition. I would have loved to have all my artwork in there, but I think I would need at least 4 or 5 floors to showcase everything that I do.
Wow. So what have you got in there then? Give us
more illustrations in there. Sort of my plan work, which has some of it has ended up into becoming, some of it's commissioned work, and some of it's just personal work that I've just really attached to me and stuff, just helps to understand me a little bit. I thought it would be a way to show my expressions.
For sale?
Some of them are. Some of them are. Some of them have been bought.
Okay.
I've already had people.
And so just to give people an idea of what sort of price points have you got there? Do you know? Do you remember?
Yeah, should I be exploding that? Well, I've got one which has gone to a couple of people who really, really, really like the pictures, and I think they thought it spoke to their soul. Yeah. So I think one of them is about 250. So I thought that's value. Yeah. And the other one is not that much. I think I'm still talking to them about it, and obviously they're going to get framed. I reframe everything and make sure it's presentable in a nice way for.
Yeah, but around the 200, 250 pounds, that's so really, affordable. If you want to invest in a local artist, local creative, you know. So
I'll go
yeah,
check it
I'm really
out.
looking forward to seeing your work, because I've
Yeah,
sort of
I'd
seen
like
little
to go as
snippets.
well.
Yeah, we'll sort something out.
So
yeah.
yeah, something out. Let
So,
me know. Just let me know.
I think we've covered quite a lot. So let's just wrap up with just sort of, if you want to do some shout out to sort of where people can find you. I did share the link, and I'll put it in the comments or update the description here, and make sure that it's all there. But if you want to do a shout out to your Instagram things, and you're on Facebook, Instagram, you're on LinkedIn as well.
Yeah, most people will find me. Right now, I've changed my name on Facebook. Obviously, going through my own processes like everyone is. So it's Kudzanai Marvin on Facebook. And to find the Lemonpop, to find out all the stuff that we do, all the therapeutic artworks and the pictures and how we showcase what we do. If you're on Facebook, it is Lemonpop Workshops. And if you're on Instagram, it's at Lemonpop Academy. And I use the Instagram one. I suggest to go on that. It's as a journal to showcase what we do personally every day, workshops that we might have with young people. So you can actually get to see raw, how we actually, the effect it has on people, the effect it actually has, and the impact that it has within the community and the people who are engaging in it. So you can see it's very much holistic, measurable, but holistic in the sense that you can actually see and sense how it's effective and impacts on anyone who participates in it.
Your other Instagram, because you gave me two.
Oh yes, my other Instagram is Ghost the Vandal Originals, which is my own personal one, just showcasing all the things that I do.
So does that more
poetry,
relate to
music,
your sort of like the artwork that you do? So it's sort of more your artist soul that you're bearing out.
I think I showcase a lot more poetry and spoken word on there, and very interesting things on there that I think a lot of people are wonder why have questions, and you know, I suggest to check that out because I always got something.
I'm not sure if I'm following you on that one, so I'll make sure. I already follow you on the Lemonpop Academy. So yeah, I'll make sure.
I've started following you too as well.
Excellent.
I've checked you out. Oh.
There we go.
Watch this space.
Yeah. Right, so that's it really. I think we've covered quite a lot. So feel free to connect with me, Marie-Louise, or with Marvin. And
can I just say before you go, I just want to leave everybody, just remember, who are you? Just a key question. Keep that in your mind wherever you go. Who are you? What makes you unique? What makes you happy? That's who you really are.
I love that. And I've got a little thank you. Something. So these are some Arbonne Fizz sticks. So they're they're vegan, gluten free. They've got you just add them to water. You sort of add these like the powder and then add the water. It's got B vitamins. It's got green tea, ginseng, and guarana, and they've got no artificial sugars or preservatives.
She knows me too well.
Yeah. So this is what I've got in here. This is how I can be like, I'm awake. I don't know what I did before Fizz sticks. So there's a few there. Just a very small token to say thank you very much and give you a pep. Especially as you said, you sort of feel slightly under the weather. So might keep you going tomorrow afternoon or something.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thank you for having me as well.
Thank you. So any questions, get in touch. Have a good rest of the day, the week, whenever you're watching this, and know who you are. Bye.